Today, we are going to dive into the arguments we have inside our own heads. We're going to get to the bottom of that really weird feeling you've probably had before. You know, when you're arguing with a voice in your head that doesn't really sound like you. It's a strange feeling, right? That little critic on your shoulder, that nagging voice that just doesn't feel like it belongs to you. Well, this explainer is all about where that voice might actually come from. So, to get our bearings, we have to start with the basics. And for that, we're turning to the classic Freudian model of the mind. You can almost picture it as a chaotic little committee meeting happening right inside your skull. Freud called this first type structural conflict. Basically, it's a fight between three core parts of your own mind. First, you've got the id. That's your raw, impulsive, I want it and I want it now voice. Then there's the superego, your inner, you should know better moral compass. And caught in the middle is the poor ego, the negotiator that's just trying to find some realistic compromise between the two. So here's the key thing to remember about this model. The fight is 100% internal. It's your desires clashing with your own fully developed conscience. It's you versus you. But as we're about to see, that's not the whole story. Let's move on, because this is where the classic model started to show some pretty big cracks. Clinicians started noticing patients whose struggles just didn't fit into that tidy little internal committee framework. As the source paper points out, psychoanalysts realized that the good old id-ego-superego conflict just couldn't explain a whole range of issues, from narcissistic disorders all the way to some types of depression. It was like the map they were using was missing a huge chunk of territory. And this led to a massive question, a real psychological mystery. If the battle raging inside someone isn't just between the different parts of their own mind, then what or who could possibly be at war in there? This brings us to the clue that started to crack the whole case open. And the answer wasn't some new hidden part of the self. No, it was the echo of someone else entirely. This second type of conflict has a name, object relations conflict, and this is absolutely fascinating. It's not a fight between parts of you. It's a fight between you and the rules, values, and prohibitions of another person that you've absorbed and installed in your mind. Here's a great way to think about it. You're not arguing with your own conscience. You're arguing with the psychological ghost of a parent or some other authority figure who basically took up residence in your head years and years ago. It's their voice, their rules, and that's what's causing the conflict. This comparison chart just lays it all out so clearly. Structural conflict is internal. It's a battle based on your code. But object relations conflict is internalized. It's a battle against someone else's code that you've swallowed whole. And here's a crucial difference. This internalized conflict happens a way earlier at a much more foundational stage of our development. Okay, so theory is one thing, but to see how this actually works in the real world, the paper gives us this powerful case study of a musician, who they call Mr. S, and his story just brilliantly illustrates this second type of conflict. So, Mr. S was this talented musician, but he was really struggling with depression and anxiety. His relationship with his mother was incredibly conflicted. She basically controlled him by making him feel guilty for any tiny step he took towards independence, even threatening to abandon him. And just listen to this quote from Mr. S. It gets right to the heart of everything. His success didn't feel like an achievement to him. It felt like a betrayal. His own freedom was completely tangled up in this profound guilt that he was deserting his mother. So you see, the core conflict for him had nothing to do with his own sense of right and wrong. The battle was between his own desire to be himself and this deep, deep-seated need to please the version of his mother that was living inside his head. I mean, what an absolutely incredible moment of insight. Mr. S realized that the guilt he felt wasn't a moral signal. It was the very chain that kept him psychologically tied to his mother, preventing him from ever growing up. It was a leash. And there it is. This was a textbook object relations conflict. Mr. S felt this crushing guilt, not because he was breaking his own moral code, but because he was defying the rules that were set by that internalized authority figure, that mother in his head. So what does all of this mean? Was Freud just wrong? Well, not exactly. The paper argues for a much more integrated model, a new map of the mind that makes room for both of these types of conflict. See, the author isn't trying to throw one theory out and replace it with another. Instead, he's proposing that these two models are actually describing conflicts that pop up at totally different stages of our psychological development. And this brings us to this final hierarchical model. A good way to think about it is like building a house. First, you lay the foundation. Those are the earlier conflicts described by object relations theory. Then, on top of that foundation, you build the rest of the house. Those are the more complex internal conflicts that Freud's structural model describes. So the huge takeaway here is that if we want to get a complete picture of why we feel so torn up inside sometimes, we need more than one tool in our toolbox. Both of these models are absolutely necessary to understand the full, complex, and often messy landscape of the human mind.
And that leaves us with one last kind of provocative thought to chew on. The next time you feel that internal battle raging, it's worth asking yourself, are you fighting with you or are you fighting with a ghost?